And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Also, want to join those who are joining us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube as well. We welcome you all to the program too. If you guys are just finding us here on Amazon.com, we're excited you can be with us for our program today with a very special guest who's making her very first appearance on our program. We have Pamela Mshana joining us to discuss her brand new book. You guys see it there, Girls in Search of Cover. We're going to talk to her not only about the writing of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share this story literally with the world. It's a powerful book. And as you guys notice, I want you guys to see this. I said in my review on Amazon, it says part one. There it is right there. So that means we're probably going to get more. We're going to talk to Pamela about that too. For those who are joining us on the Amazon Live side, you guys will notice there's a carousel either down beneath us or on the side of us. There you'll see Pamela's book there. Feel free to be able to click on it. You can be able to purchase your copy as I did as well. And also, we'll be letting you guys know how to stay connected with Pamela too. But Pamela, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Cyrus. I've been looking forward to this day. As you know, this is my official pub day, release day, and I'm so excited to be joining with you for the Amazon Live event. And I'm just honored to be on your show.
Thank
And
you. Well,
welcome,
look,
everyone.
I appreciate you being on with us. Congratulations to you on Girls in Search of Cover. We're going to dive into the book here in a bit, but I want to talk about this experience for you, Pamela. I mean, what has it been like for you to have been able to discover the gift of storytelling for yourself and then to be able
Mm,
to share that with all of us?
sure. Wow, you know what? I always say it this way. I was trying to write poetry from a very young age. I mean, very early, like 6, 7 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
I would actually make deals with my aunt, Linda, and I'd say, because she was a better at spelling than me, and I'd say, I'll play dolls with you for a while if you'll correct my spelling. And then I stopped writing or trying to write poetry for many years. And in that window, I used to write poems for my parents for like Mother's Day or Father's Day, or try to anyway. I stopped for many years and then I started writing poetry again in middle school. Then I went to the High School for the Arts in Los Angeles and I joined a playwrights lab and I wrote my first play. And my instructor, Bob Harders, entered it into a contest without even telling me. I didn't even know I was in the contest until I got the phone call I had won. And
Wow.
because of that, I got a scholarship to NYU and I was published as a playwright at 19. I've had some opportunities to write other plays and have them produced. And my latest or last thing, I guess, big thing that was public is I worked at a certain point at the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa, and I had an opportunity to write original play for them, and that was exciting. So that's kind of like a brief blurb about
Yeah.
how I got into writing.
Yeah. Well, I think part of what you shared though is for one a belief in yourself, for one to want to get someone to be able to do some editing for you. So you must have really felt good about what you were writing, right? And now to get to a place, Pamela, where now literally people around the world can be able to pick up a book with your name on it, with your story inside of it, and read it. I know this is the official pub day for you, but have you gotten used to that? The idea that now this book, like I'm here in Mississippi, this book is literally getting into the hands of people around the world.
In no way am I used to that. It's still so new for me, and honestly, the story is really me. It was a psychological journey for me, even in exploring my own healing around the topic. And you know that it touches on sexual abuse, and so it's a different kind of release in the world. It's so intimate and so personal, but at the same time, I feel as though I must do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. When I was writing my review this morning, Pamela, on Amazon, the thing I thought about, and I actually said it in the review, the title of the book is "Girls in Search of Cover," and of course, as people read the book, they'll see that. But it could very easily be "Girls and Boys in Search of Cover" because it is a book that I think shows, even by the characters, that all of us are impacted in some way by trauma, by hurt, by disappointment, by being under the shadow of how people see us and we see ourselves. So talk to us about that. What has it been like for you to address something that can be personal, but to make it also universal?
I'm glad you brought that up. I The title "Girls in Search of Cover" came to me because, again, it's so personal for me and my being female.
Mhm.
But of course, the theme it reaches across society, across the world.
Right.
Um, it's my goal and hope that as I've unveiled, to some extent, a part of myself, that boys, girls, women, men around the world will be able to see themselves, especially if they've wrestled with these type of challenges, um, and feel less alone. And even through the character's journey, and I shared a lot of her psychological journey, um, find some healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello to you, Angela. Angela Anderson is joining us on the Facebook side. She says hello to you as well, Pamela, and happy Pub Day to you. What a cover, she says. And it's a beautiful cover. And I saw when I was prepping for this segment initially, I saw your cover reveal you did
Yes.
on social media, Pamela. I want to talk about that because Angela is actually how I connected with you. And
Mhm.
Angela also is a powerful force in the literary world. What has it been like for you to be able to kind of forge these relationships with individuals not only that are in this industry, but also are supporters of you too?
Wow, I actually see it as a blessing from God. For me, this whole process has been a faith walk, and
Mhm.
I just find that I kind of just started the journey somewhat in the dark. I have had some mentors, longtime mentors. In fact, I'm still in touch with um, instructor who first taught me to write my first play, and then a longtime friend, Tony Ann Johnson. They have all given me guidance in the process. But then Angela came across my path through actually Vanessa Miller. And we have now forged a wonderful personal relationship and professional relationship. And I just feel that I had to step out. And then when I got to the point where more information and knowledge was needed, God provided it. So that's why I
Yeah,
look at it as a faith walk.
yeah,
And it's day by day, and it's been beautiful. I feel like I've been very favored actually.
yeah, yeah. Well, I tell you, there's nothing like. I mean, Angela. It's been great watching her over the years, and her support of authors, definitely for
Yeah.
sure. And I think having people like that in your tribe is important too. I think for one to encourage you, but also to be able to in many ways, as we see in the book, Pamela, to let you know that you have something of value. I want to talk about that experience for you in writing the book, Girls in Search of Cover. How much did that play a part in telling this story, reminding people of their own value?
Well, it's a theme that I've wrestled with again in my own life. I want nothing more than for, especially young people, but really all people, to know their own value and their self worth. So, as the character journeys through the book, um, that's been an important thing to share. Though she wrestled with many obstacles and this kind of mean mother of the church, she goes through all of these trials, and ultimately arrives at a place of her sense of self worth. But some of that you're going to get in part two.
Okay. Well, that sets us up perfectly. I want to mention C Jolly. C Jolly is joining us on the Amazon live side. Hello to you, C Jolly. C Jolly says, "I'm so proud of you, Pamela. You are an inspiration of what it means to follow your dreams. Thank you for stepping out on faith. Appreciate that, C Jolly. Thank you for watching us there on Amazon. Dr. Pamela Bagby is joining us on Facebook. She says hello to you
Oh,
as well, Pamela. So, let's
thanks.
talk a little bit about this story because it is layered. And I said that in my review too. There are so many layers to this because we all have heard about the sins of the mother, of the sins of the father, right?
Mhm.
But I think this book kind of reminds you of the trauma of the mother. And really, we can say the trauma of the mothers and how it kind of layers itself throughout. Did you know going into this story, Pamela, that there would be so much of I guess, especially when I think about myself as a guy reading this, a lot of times when people hear, especially a guy's name, you think about who that person's father is or who
Mhm.
their people are, right? Um, this did not always seem good for your for your characters to think about who their family was. What was
Mhm.
that like for you to play with that? The idea of almost having the pride of family taken away by the shame of the family.
Mm. For me, I see both in the story. I see
Mhm.
the generational strength and pride being passed, especially with the setup of the ancestors and seeing their faces in the tree bark and how they cheer her forward. But certainly, I am having a look at generational things that are passed that are not good. The whole point for me is for us to be able to look at those things and make an intentional decision to change it up. I've also realized that uh, those things have been important to me for years since I was 16 when I first wrote my first play, and I pay attention to cycles. And when I look at people today, I'm just naturally curious. What are the set of circumstances that brought you to who I see today? So I think those things are important for all of us to explore. And certainly, there's a lot of trauma going on in the lives of the grandmother, the mother, and then the daughter.
Yeah.
And again, the story that you'll see is how they're all wrapped up and tied in this trauma together, but in a way they get out of it together.
Yeah. I love what you just said because I alluded to that in my review too, Pamela, and I'm going to share what Joyce has to say because it does come back to responsibility. There's only so much you can blame on others.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean that your situations was perfect, but you
Right.
look at biblical examples like Joseph, who had horrible things happen to him, and he was still able to make choices that were good, right? I mean, he didn't allow, even saying to his brothers, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. And I think
Hmm.
we do see that even in the book that there's only so much you can blame on others, right? About, what the decisions you choose to make. I think about the son for that. I keep going back to that because I think that's such a great example of how much he blamed his mother for who he was and what
Hmm.
she was, but also realizing the mistakes that he was making in his life and not taking responsibility always for those. I'm going to mention what Joyce says on the Facebook side. Joyce says, "Congratulations, friend. I'm so proud of you. I'm truly enjoying reading Girls in Search of Cover. Appreciate that. Joyce, glad you can join us. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents on Amazon Live primarily is where we are broadcasting, where you can literally buy Pamela's book as we're talking. We're talking to Pamela about the book you guys see here. I have my
Hmm.
print edition here. Girls in Search of Cover is the title of the book. Part one, you see it says it right there. We're going to talk to her more about that. But we also welcome you guys tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. I appreciate you all being with us as well.
Thank
So,
you.
how much of this was a surprise for you, Pamela? I mean, I hear authors talk about a lot of times they go into a story with an outline and with an idea, but a lot of times the characters take over. Is this the book you knew you were going to write, or did you find it did take twists and turns as the story unfolded?
Yeah, it certainly took twists and turns. And, I didn't set out to write I didn't actually set out to write this story. I just saw these characters and that's what they were saying. I didn't start from an outline. Of course, in the writing process, writing is rewriting. So things emerge, themes emerge, and you want to explore them more deeply. So even the things that we've been talking about in terms of the generational aspects of it. Um, I'm a Christian, so when I think of generational things, when I think of ancestors, I also think of the cloud of witnesses. And so that's how I wanted to put a positive feel to everything too, to know that spiritually and in the natural, there's those who are rooting for you to get to a better place, and you're not so alone. And remembering uh, the voices of those who have died on before you, like if your parent died, if your mom died or your grandmother died, but they deposited some valuable things, erect that monument, keep it alive so that you can
Mm,
change. If things were wrong, you have the power to change it. So as I explored all these things, the story came out. My daughter actually pointed out to me how important trees are to me. And that
mm,
just took on a whole new life because of the wealth of just the symbol of a tree. So all of that just kind of unfolded as I went through the writing process. And I had feedback from very important people, even first time readers or first readers of my book. It was so valuable to get feedback from who we might call lay people in the business, but avid readers, but also the professionals who had their eyes on my work. So all of that kind of played a part. But I want to say too, I do really feel that God gave me the story and that it's a story. My biggest hope for it is that it helps people. And it has the entertainment value. We're talking about a very serious topic, but it has humorous elements.
Yeah.
But while the entertainment of it is so important to me, equally important is that people find some strength from it.
Right. This is why I actually read the books of my guests, Pamela. When you mentioned the cloud of witnesses, I thought about what you wrote in the book about, hey, well, I don't know what kind of witnesses, cloud of witnesses I got in my, I think, but a lot of people will think that as they look at their family, look at where they come from, and wonder, okay, this is not exactly what something to be proud of. Again, of that very point, right? So I want to go to something else you said because it also reminded me of a part of the book, and that is the idea of there is a levity. Like there's that one conversation about the women who are mean mugging and basically being said their faces should stay like that. Always seem like they always have their noses turned up, and we all know people like that, right? But there is also the idea of broader sense for me, Pamela, that this book is us, just as human beings. We're judgmental. We always try to make someone else seem less than us to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
And we feel as though we have the right to decide how far a person can go. Did you see that broader message just as human beings initially, or was that also something as the story unfolded and you told this very personal story that it did become something wider?
It's something that unfolded as I wrote the story. And the characters, my approach is just to let them be who they are. As a writer, I don't try to edit. If someone thinks something mean, it's not my job as my Christian self to say, you can't say that. So I let them explore the range of emotions and thoughts and ideas that just are natural for people. And I think as a human being, I've always been a people watcher, an observer of dialogue, of just everyday speech. And I think it's always just my goal to have them be themselves. So they naturally said these things. Mother Johns is not mean because she's trying to be mean. It's just who she is. But she has those redeeming qualities that is also just who she is. She loves her grandson. Um, so that's kind of, again, what it was for me.
Yeah. There's also the idea too of when it comes to abuse and fighting. I mean, that one of the things that comes up. And Joyce, thank you so much for the follow over there on the Amazon Live side. Joyce Lee, appreciate you. I'm going to hold that thought for a second, Pamela, and mention what Brian says over on the Amazon Live side. Brian says, "Thanks, Cyrus and Pamela. Love the content. Keep up the good work." Thank you so much for that, Brian. Appreciate that. Appreciate you joining us today. And we're going to remind you all how you can stay connected with Pamela, but definitely make sure you guys are clicking below if you're on the Amazon side or over here on the side to be able to get your copy of her book, her new book, Girls in Search of Cover. I was just going to mention, though, about abuse, because I think we all have our idea of what abuse is, Pamela. And one of the things that one of the characters talks about is sometimes fighting begins with words, right? It's not always about the physical.
Right.
And I think for us to recognize that, and it kind of goes to how we started this conversation about the power of words. Do you also think this book shows the responsibility of words? Because these characters don't always say the nicest things to each other. Sometimes they can be just as painful as a slap or a fist. Do you think this book also shows that the power and responsibility that comes from the words we speak?
I absolutely do. And that's something important to me. It's a theme in my own life to be careful of what I say and know the power of what I say. And when I say power, I mean both good and bad. So we have a responsibility to speak life. Um, Unless you're on some kind of mission to to do harm, and I hope that's not the case. But there's characters who say
Right.
really mean things, but I believe that it's balanced with characters who are trying to correct them or guide them in another direction. So
Mm.
I do believe that that's present in the story, and it would it would be kind of obvious because it is an important thing to me as a person, and so it came out in the characters.
Was there one character in particular that you resonated more with?
Well, as far as the story and the psychological journey or the emotional journey, it's Carmia, the main character.
Okay.
Again, because it's her story of pain and triumph. But the character that was most fun that I resonated with was actually Mother John's. You know
Okay.
what? I'm a nice person, but mean things come to my mind. There's meanness in me if I let it be, if I let it have life.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but it was fun because honestly, she lets me explore some of the quirky things, mean things that come to my mind, but I get to give it to a character.
Love that. Love that. Carmia is a different character, and and of course, it is Carmia's voice that is so prominent for us. But I think also there's a lot of, because even going back to what I was just saying, actually, since we're talking about Carmia, that was Carmia who said that about fighting first with words. You do the same thing, and kind of being a voice of reason in many ways, but also I think being able to see who her mother was, and who her family was, and learning that she didn't have to be that way. And I think there's so many people who learn that even though they go through their bouts of who am I, what can I actually become based on what people say about me and about my family, but also realizing they can be more. Is that part of what you hope people take away from this book as we do get ready for part two, Pamela, is that they can be more?
Absolutely, 100%. The life that you're born to, if it's not what you desire, if you see things around you that is not what you hope for, know that you have the power to change it. And no matter how painful the circumstances, you still have the power to change it. And, in my life growing up, the first neighborhood that I was born into, I remember looking across the street and I saw people behaving in such a way that it kind of hurt me as a child, and I made a decision that I wanted to be nothing like that as a child. I could say, "Oh, I don't speak profanity because I'm a Christian," but I made that decision as a child watching women use profanity, and I associated it with that lifestyle. Um, and it was a rough neighborhood. So to help you understand why I say that lifestyle. um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is important to me for people to understand that you have the power to change your life. And all of that
Yeah.
strength is inside. So many times we look outward, and you can certainly have outward support, but the key is what's going on the inside of you. When you decide, you know what, regardless of what people may have said, I have value, and I can find a way to make my life what I want it to be.
Yeah. Dr. Bellman says the story sounds interesting and the cover grabs your attention. You want to talk to us about the cover, Pamela? Talk to us about the cover and what it means for you.
Sure. I love this cover. My cover designer was Laura Duffy Designs, and for me, I mentioned a red oak tree, so she followed suit with making the bark red. But also, if you look really, really closely, you see faces in the bark, and again, that's speaking to the generational aspects that's embedded in the book. Not just the people who are alive, but the people who have passed on. But then when you see the three, I guess, silhouettes of the female characters, is symbolic of the generations. But for me, when I look at the leaves, I love it because it looks like a type of crown. And for me, having a title called Girls in Search of Cover, one of the things I'm playing with is not that you are uncovered with sexual violation, just your clothes are taken off, but your inner spiritual covering is removed. So the leaves being a crown above their heads to me is like that covering being returned. So for me, that's what it says, and that's why I love
Yeah. Sonia Visor, a fellow author, says, "Nice cover." Thank you for that, Sonia, for joining us on Facebook. Joy says, "We can be different than what we see." That is so true, and I think that's a big
it.
thing. Tony on Amazon Live says, "Congratulations to you, Pamela. You're getting a lot of support as you're celebrating the official launch of the book. We're so excited for you,
Thank you.
Pamela, and glad you could spend some time with us. Again, everyone, we have Pamela Mshana joining us today. Her book, Girls in Search of Cover, available now through our friends at Amazon.com. Again, if you guys are on the Amazon side, make sure you guys click below or on the side to be able to order the book for yourself, the print edition, as you guys can see there. You can also read my review on Amazon there. And make sure after you've read the book, you share your thoughts as well. So, Pamela, since people are already talking about this book, you know that's going to raise the pressure for part two. You've already told us there's going to be more because we see part one on here.
Yes.
Are you feeling that pressure already? Are you excited about that pressure?
I'm feeling a little bit of that pressure because you mentioned earlier about beginning to learn about, the relationships who will help you and guide you. And people are giving me advice about how quick it needs to get out and all this stuff. So that's a little bit of pressure. What's not a lot of pressure is I have the second part written. I just want to fine tune it a bit.
Okay. Okay.
I think I'm going to feel my way through the process about how quickly I release it. But I also am so excited about it because I know what happens in the second part, and I have ideas for part three, and that's a beautiful part of it because it's so generational and there's family ties. It's just so much I can do with it. So I look forward. I'm excited about exploring all of those things.
All right. Last comment I want to share with you, Pamela. Brenda says on Facebook, "So proud of you stepping out on faith and even for your transparency." Appreciate that, Brenda. I think I may have missed a comment. Hold on a second. I said the last one. Oh, Angela said, "What a powerful cover with the backstory and meaning of the things you see on the cover." Appreciate that, Angela. Appreciate the introduction to Pamela Mshana. Glad you could join us here on Amazon Live, Pamela. As I mentioned, the book is available here on Amazon. But how can they stay connected with you, Pamela?
Well, the easiest way and quickest way, because I know we have to pay attention to time, is my website, PamelaMshana.com. That's PamelaMshana.com. And there there's links to, it'll send you to Amazon to get the book and other options. And you can write me, contact me if you want me for a speaking engagement. All sorts of resources are there to stay connected.
If you don't mind, also tell them about the Facebook page. I know I joined it, your reading room.
Yes, thank you. I'm actually sitting in my reading room, so it'll look familiar to you if you go to that Facebook page. But my plans for the reading room is not just to share my work, but to share the work of other authors, have them come on and talk about their work, the writing process. I have friends who are screenwriters, playwriters, also authors of novels, and I'm having so much fun actually engaging with everyone. It's so join the Facebook page, and you can also learn what's happening with me when the part two is coming out and all of that. So thanks for reminding me to tell people about that.
Good deal. Dr. Clara, thank you so much for joining us on the Facebook side. Miss Queenie Clem, glad to see you over there on Amazon. She says congratulations to you as well, Pamela. Great conversation with you. Glad we had a chance to chat. Again, make sure you guys get your copy of Girls in Search of Cover. You guys see there, a great book, beautiful cover, and really, I think it's entertaining, but also there's so many other elements to it, I think, to really make you think a bit as well. Pamela, looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you. I look forward to it too. And I want to just thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor being on your show. And thanks everybody that tuned in.
All right. and especially those who are joining us for the replay as well. And we do thank all of you for tuning in for this episode of Cyrus Ware Presents on Amazon Live, as well as our other affiliates. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.